All right, CMA candidates, let's dive in. When you're prepping for the exam, some topics just carry more weight than others. And today, we are tackling one of those heavy hitters, activity-based budgeting, or as you'll see it, ABB. My only goal here is to make sure you walk away from this feeling like you've absolutely got this. So let's get right to it. I want you to think about this question. How many times have you seen it? The annual budget process is basically just taking last year's numbers and slapping on, say, an extra 5%. The classic copy-paste budget. But what does that really do? If there was waste, if there were inefficiencies baked into last year's budget, and let's be honest, there always are, well, you've just guaranteed you're carrying them forward. That's not strategic planning, it's just repeating old habits.
This right here is probably the best way I can think of to frame the difference. A traditional budget, it's like one of those old paper maps. It gives you a general idea of the city, a broad overview. But ABB, that's your GPS. A GPS doesn't care about where you were yesterday. It has one question: where do you want to go? And from there, it calculates the most efficient turn-by-turn route to get you there. See the difference? It's all about focusing on your destination, not your starting point.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit more. To really get why ABB is such a powerful tool, we first got to pinpoint exactly why that old map approach, the traditional way of budgeting, so often leads us astray. This right here, this is the single biggest mental shift you need to make for the exam. Traditionally, we just throw a chunk of money at a department, right? The sales department gets a budget. Well, ABB flips that on its head. It forces you to ask, what work actually needs to get done? So instead of just funding the department, we fund the specific activities. Making sales calls, creating proposals, traveling to meet clients. We budget for the work, not just the name on the org chart.
And here's where the magic really starts to happen. As soon as you start thinking in terms of activities, you almost immediately start seeing all this non-value-added waste. I mean, what is that? It's all the stuff a customer would never ever be willing to pay for if they knew about it. Things like fixing mistakes, waiting around for approvals, filling out forms that nobody reads. A traditional budget just buries those costs. ABB shines a huge spotlight on them and makes you ask a very tough question. Why are we even doing this?
All right, so we've got the why down. Now let's get our hands dirty with the how. This next section is all about the mechanics. What are the actual steps you take to build one of these budgets from the ground up? Now, I want you to pay close attention to the flow here because it's probably the complete opposite of what you're used to. We don't start with last year's spending. No, we start at the end with our sales forecast. How much do we want to sell? From that single goal, we work backward. What activities does it take to get there? How many times do we have to do each one? And then, only at the very end, do we actually calculate the cost. This logical chain makes the final budget incredibly solid. There's just no room for that arbitrary padding we all know happens. Okay, this next part is a really big one for the CMA exam. And honestly, it's a super common point of confusion for students. So let's clear it up right now. What is the deal with activity-based budgeting and its very famous cousin, activity-based costing? This slide lays it out perfectly. The best way to think about them is as mirror images of each other. ABC, or activity-based costing, is all about looking in the rearview mirror. It's historical. It asks, hey, what did our activities actually cost us last year? It's trying to assign past costs to products accurately. But ABB, our tool, that's all about looking forward, through the windshield. It's a planning tool that asks, based on our future goals, what will our activities cost us next year? One looks back, the other plans ahead. Simple as that. And this is where ABB goes from just being a neat accounting exercise to being a powerful strategic weapon. Because you're budgeting based on the actual workload you're forecasting, you can spot problems months ahead of time. I mean, look at this. If your plan demands 500 hours of machine time, but you only have 400 hours of capacity, you'll know that before the year even starts. You've just found a bottleneck that you can solve now, instead of reacting to a crisis later. All right, team, let's put on our exam hats for a minute. The ICMA loves, and I mean loves, to test your ability to evaluate different methods. So let's create a little pro and con scorecard for activity-based budgeting, just like you would on the exam. The advantages are pretty clear, and they're exactly what you want to highlight in an essay question. It zeroes in on waste, it connects the budget directly to the company's big picture strategy, and it makes your numbers way more accurate. But, and this is so important for getting top marks, you have to mention the challenges. Don't forget this part. ABB is not a walk in the park. It's complex, it takes a lot of time, and its success is completely dependent on having good data. Remember the old saying, garbage in, garbage out? Okay, we've covered the what, the why, and the how. But now we're at the most important part. I want to give you the key, the one concept that will unlock even the trickiest exam questions on this topic.
Everything we have talked about today, it all boils down to this one idea, the cost driver. It's really just a simple cause and effect relationship. What causes the cost of setting up machines to go up? Well, the number of times you set them up. So the number of setups is the cost driver. What drives your quality control costs? The number of inspections. What drives purchasing costs? The number of purchase orders you process. If you can identify the driver, you can manage the cost.
And this right here, please burn this into your brain. This is the exam secret. If a multiple choice question asks you how to reduce a budget under an ABB system, I promise you the wrong answer is always going to be something arbitrary, like slash the department's budget by 10%. The correct answer, every single time, will be about improving efficiency. It's about reducing the need for the activity itself, reducing the consumption of the cost driver. You have to attack the root cause of the cost, not just the dollar amount. When you get right down to it, ABB is more than just a budgeting method. It's a whole new way of thinking that is just relentless in hunting down inefficiency. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. If you applied this logic to your own job, what's the first non-value-added activity you'd get rid of? Always remember that core lesson. Attack the cause, not just the cost. If you can master that one idea, you are going to be in fantastic shape for the exam. Keep up the amazing work, and I'll see you in the next one.